Leroy.
Leroy.
Black.
Call him David. So, old David walks in, opens the door and runs in. Pawpaw. And no answer. Pawpaw. Still no answer. Walks into the kitchen, looks out on the back porch, and Grandpa's sitting on the back porch smoking a cigarette. David opens, slides the door, back door open. Hey, Pawpaw, what are you doing? Oh, just watching, Pawpaw says. So what are you watching? He goes, just watching, just like to watch. Oh. So David sits down there beside him, looks at him. Oh, Pawpaw, his cigarette got half ash, you know. David just looks at him and says, Pawpaw, there he goes, tell me a story. A story? Yeah, Pawpaw, tell me a story. I said, well, did I ever tell you about the time I met Billy the Kid? He said, Billy the Kid? He goes, yeah, I met Billy the Kid. I said, you didn't tell me that. Grandpa pulls that cigarette out. Ash falls all over his shirt. He just wipes them off. He said, hold on. Oh, look at here. Yeah, fish like stories. Anyways.
Two Wigglesworth fish.
Yeah.
One,
Two different colors.
yeah.
I might put one on. They're a little deeper than these.
That's Wigglesworth, ain't it?
No, this ain't. It's just 1.5. Anyways. Old Grandpa, he's like, hold on a second. I'm gonna go get some coffee. And he gets up, puts the cigarette out, walks in the house. David can hear him in there, you know, messing around with the coffee pot. And he comes back out, leaves the door open this time, sits down and goes, so, where was I? And David says, well, you was going to tell me about Billy the Kid. Time you met Billy the Kid. He goes, oh, yeah, Billy the Kid, huh? Oh, William Bonney. Boy, he was something else. He said, let me think. Grandpa's like, let me think about this for a second. Try to get my facts right. And said, all right, here we go. He said, I think I was, I don't know, about 14 when I met him. And me and my daddy, we were going into town to get some supplies. We stop at the creek. We always stop at the creek, in this one little hole, and let our horses drink, and we get down to stretch our legs. And well, when we pull up to this place, there's a man standing there, a young man, and he had long hair. When I say long hair, it's about down to his shoulders. But he was a nice looking fella, you know. It's kind of dusty, but everybody's dirty back in them days. He's sitting there, and my dad gets off. He says, howdy. The guy's like, howdy. Dad's like, you mind if we get some water with you? The guy's like, yeah, come on down. He said, plenty of water for all of us. And we get down, and he said, I'm sitting there quiet because I don't know this guy. Him and Daddy's talking. And I just hear Daddy say, or that guy walks up, you know, introduces himself, shakes Daddy's hand, and he's like, William Bonney. He looked at me, said, what's your name? And I was like, I said, my name's Jimmy. I said, well, Jimmy, it's nice to meet you. And we kind of talked there for a little bit. We telling him, you know, yeah, we're just heading to town to get some supplies. And he looked at us, he goes, well, be careful. He said, I heard there's a bank robbery in town. Dad looked at him, he's like, bank robbery, huh? He goes, yeah. He's like, a little old shootout, but wasn't much. Because I don't think anybody got hurt. At least that's what I was told. That's what this boy was telling us. And we didn't think nothing of it. We talked to him for a little bit. And me and Daddy, we, you know, go on about our way. And we get into town, and sure enough, there'd been a robbery and a killing. And I look at Daddy and I said, Daddy, that man said nobody got hurt. And Daddy said, well, he might not have heard the whole story. You know, he might have just been passing through. And we go by the store and go in and tell them our order, what we want. And Daddy's like, you know what, let's go to the cafe. See if we can get us a bite to eat, some good food. And so it's a treat when Daddy will take you out to eat, you know. And we go on, we walk into that cafe, and the lady walks up, says, what can I get you, boys? And Daddy's like, well, what's the special? And the lady tells us whatever the food was. Like, I don't remember what it was, but we get the special. We always got the special, no matter what it was. That's what we always got. And Daddy asked that woman, like, ma'am, so what happened here in town? I heard there was a robbery. She said, yeah, this boy rode in here. He stopped in here and got him some food, and that's where the bank was. He needed to make a deposit. And said he was, you know, thought about taking some steak up here in town and need to put some money in the bank. And so he was a nice fellow. You know, had kind of long hair, but he was pretty clean cut. I looked at Daddy, you know, and like, oh man. And Daddy just like, oh, okay, well. We talked to a fella outside of town that said there was a robbery, but no one was hurt. She said, well, in the shootout, a man got killed after this guy robbed the bank. They go chasing him down and just shoot back and forth, and the man gets killed. One of the deputies. And so they're putting a posse together to go look for him. And I'm just sitting there quiet because, you know, I don't know what to say. Well, the woman goes on back to turn our order in, and I look at Daddy, like, Daddy, you think that was the guy that robbed this place? Darn the stuff. And Daddy was like, I don't know, son. I said, maybe, but you never know. Well, Daddy, he had the same description as that man we seen. Yeah, but there's a lot of people with shaggy hair. Well, Daddy, I don't know. Well, anyways, we get our supplies and we're heading out of town. And we're going, and we stop back at our water hole, and of course, there's nobody there this time, which is pretty normal. You know, we're not used to seeing anybody, but it's whatever. Well, once we get back home, we get close to home, we start seeing these horse tracks. We'll be back here because nobody ever comes to visit us because where we live. Kind of over there, a bunch of trees around us. Well, when we get home, there's a horse sitting there, started tied up, and there's a guy sitting on the porch. Daddy, we ride up there, and Daddy gets off we stop the horses, and he tells me, he said, take this wagon around back. We'll unload it in a little while. We'll go see what's going on. And I get to look at that man, and it looked like that same guy we talked to earlier. Well, I go on around. I do what Daddy said. I go take the wagon and unhitch it, turn the horses loose, give them a little water. And I'm coming back to the house, and Daddy's standing there talking to this man. I walk up on there, and it's that same guy. He goes, well, hello, Jimmy, it's good to see you again, he says to me. And I'm like, sir, Mr. Bonnet, right? He goes, I ain't no mister. He said, just call me Billy. You know, he goes, okay, Billy, I guess nice to see you again. I said, well, how was town? He asked me, and Daddy's standing there beside me, and I was like, well, there was a man got killed in town. And old Billy was like, really? Huh. Like, I didn't hear about that, but I was just passing through, you know? I'm like, okay. And my mom, she walks out of the house, and she's got got a little bit of food with her. And she hands him a plate. The guy, old Billy looks at that. He looks there, your wife offered. I was hungry. And he's like, nah, go ahead. It's fine. Fine with me. He turned. He's like, but he said, you mind helping us unload this wagon? And the boy's like, yeah, no problem. He said, well, finish your food. When you get done, we'll unload this wagon. So he's eating, and we talk a little bit, and I asked him, where are you from? And he said, New Mexico. New Mexico? They're a long way, man. We're out here in Texas. And almost Indiana. He said, yeah, I said, I just passing through. I just, I sold my place in New Mexico, and I just wanted to see the country. So came through, think about putting some roots down. Oh yeah. Well. And we talk a little bit, and when he gets done, he walks in and puts the plate to Mama, and he's like, all right, now let's go get them supplies. And he helps us, a nice man. And we get the supplies unloaded, and we're all just sitting there talking on the porch. And he tells us about his adventures. He's been up Kansas, North Oklahoma, all the way to Nebraska. He went all the way to Nebraska. I thought that was cool because I had never been anywhere. And I asked him what New Mexico was like. He said, well, he goes, New Mexico. He said, love it, like this. A lot of cactus. The wind always blows. I said, oh, well. I said, would you go back? And Billy's like, I might, but it ain't gonna be any time soon. And so it starts getting a little later, and Billy's like, well, I guess I better be on my way. And Paul's like, well, it's getting dark. You can, more than welcome to stay in the barn. And and you can get a head start in the morning. So he didn't argue. He, thanked him and went and unloaded his, took his horse to the barn and took his saddle off, carried his saddle in and everything. And I went in there and helped him out, walked his horse, talked with him while he took his saddle and stuff off his horse. And we talked, and I seen that he had a pearl-handled pistol. And I was always told that only rich people could afford those. And I seen it, and I just said, hey, sir, it's like, that's a nice pistol. He's like, it ain't sir, remember, it's Billy, just call me Billy. But, oh, yeah. And he's like, you want to see it? He goes, I don't know. He pulls it out and twirls it around on his finger, and I'm like, wow. And he flips it around and hands it to me. And I go to grab it, and he flips it over, points a barrel at me, and I freeze. He kind of grins and flips it around again and hands it to me. And I'm holding it. And he asked me, he's like, you want to shoot it? I was like, yeah, if you don't mind. I don't mind. Let's go. We'll go out behind the barn. And I tell him, I was like, well, hold on, let me tell Paul. So we go to shooting, it don't scare him. So I run to the house and I tell Paul, hey, Paul, we're going to shoot a little bit before bedtime. And Paul was like, okay. Don't think nothing of it. So we go out back. I go put some. Look at here. Aha! Got him! I got him! Look at this. I didn't get skunked today. Yeah. And anyways, I go put me some. I told you I always catch fish on this thing. I go put some old bottles up there. He had some glass bottles. He said, well, I've had these, and I just don't like throwing them on the ground, He said, I'll burn them in my fire or whatever, but I just don't like throwing them on the ground. So he pulls these beer bottles, I guess is what they wear out. And I go set them on the fence post, and I draw a bait on it, and I shoot them. I wasn't ready for that. That pistol about jumped out of my hand. I was like, ooh. He said, that's all right. Well, I take these, and I'm ready this time. shoot, and I miss again. He just laughs. He goes, here, let me show you how it's done. I hand him the pistol, and he just, pow, 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 pow. It's that fast. 4 shots, 4 balls. I was like, wow. He goes, well, I shoot a lot. And I was like, well, I don't get to shoot much, you know. Ammo's sparse around here. He said, that's alright, I got plenty. Just try again. I take some more bottles, and I set them up out there, and he reloads it. And as I put that last bottle up, I hear a shot. And I freeze as that bottle explodes out of my hand. And I look back at him, and he's grinning. And that scared me, so I kind of got a little mad over that one. And I was like, don't ever do that again. And he just laughs. He said, get on back here. And I go back, and he's like, here. Now, this time, when you aim at the fence post. I said, okay. So I put it at the fence post, and I pull the trigger. Wow, and the glass shatters. I was like, man. He said, there you go, do it again. And I draw a bead on it. Wow, I bust the other one. I was like, all right, I got this now. He said, now, how you ever gonna get fast if you gotta aim like that? And I was like, what do you mean? He said, you can't, if you ever get in a gunfight, you can't aim. He said, here, let me show you. And he takes the pistol from me, and he's looking at me, and he's holding that gun by his side, and he just turns sideways real fast. Boom! Busts that bottle. I was like, dang. I was like, yeah, there you go now. He said, you do it. I'm like, me do it. I'm 13, 14 years old now, and this gun weighs as much as I do. I was like, but here it goes. I take it, facing him, and I turn real fast, pull the trigger, and boom! About shot my foot off. He just laughed. He goes, well, next time make sure you point the barrel before you shoot. And I was like, oh, it scared me. He's like, but this guy, man, he wasn't rattled about nothing. Alright, so I take it, alright, here we go. Point it real fast, pause a second, then I shoot. I miss. He's like, better, at least you didn't shoot your foot off this time. And I'm like, whew, I'm kind of nervous. And I shoot, and I don't even get close. He's like, okay. He reloads it. And he's like, this time, when you shoot, he said, I want you to aim down your arm. I'm like, down my arm? He goes, yeah. He said, just look straight down your arm with both eyes. Whenever you shoot like that. I'm like, down my arm? He goes, yeah. I'm like, okay. He said, you can look at your knuckle, the side of your knuckle, and that's where you'll hit. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. So I take it, and I do, and I just aim. I just kind of both eyes down my arm, and I see the side of my knuckle, and I pull the trigger. Bam! Bottle bust. I'm like, oh man. He's like, there you go. No, do it again. And I bam, 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 bam. You know, I shoot 4 or 5 times, and 4 or 5 bottles. All right, this guy's awesome. And we continue on shooting. And it started getting dark, and he's like, well, we'll might do it again tomorrow. Depends on if I need to leave in the morning or not. I'm like, okay, Billy, I'll see you in the morning. I go on back to the house. When I'm in the house, I'm laying there in bed, and I'm thinking about what he said. Why would he might have to leave in the morning? It's just an odd thing for a man to say. And so we're sitting there in bed, whatever, and I'll go to sleep. And a knock on the door comes. We're beating on the door, and I'm like, what the world? I wake up, and there's Marshall standing out there on the porch. And him and Daddy's talking. And I can, I'm listening through the door, and I can hear them talking about, have there been a guy come through here, and my Dad's like, I can see Dad's head saying, goes, no, I haven't seen anybody. And I'm thinking, what about the guy in the barn? And that Marshall asked, well, sir, just be on the lookout. There's, been a robbery in town, and a man got killed, so this guy that's passed through with his long, shaggy hair, and he had a vest on, like a brownish vest, and he's just dangerous. So if we see anybody, just, stay away from them. Daddy's like, okay, Marshall. If I see anybody, I'll come down and let you know or whatever y'all pass through. But I'll be on the lookout. Marshall and his posse, they, turning right away. And Daddy walks in the house and sees me standing there. I'm like, Daddy, what about the man in the barn? Dad said, what man? And I'm like, what do you mean, what man? You told this guy he could stay in the barn. Billy. He's like, well, son, I said, if Billy was that bank robber, he said, I didn't have no money in that bank. That guy hadn't done nothing to me. He's just been nice to us. So why would I want to get him in trouble? And I thought of that. I was like, I guess he's right. This guy's been nothing but friendly to us. He can't be a bank robber. That man don't seem like he'd kill anybody, but man, he's a good shot. And well, I see Daddy, he grabs lantern and he heads back out to the barn and he eases open that barn door a little bit and he walks on in and I run out there behind him, and I get up to the barn door and I don't hear nothing. And then I'm sitting there and I'm listening. I'm kind of peeking in the barn door and I can see Daddy moving that lantern around like he's looking, but he ain't finding what he's looking for. And I'm thinking, I'm like, he's in that first stall. That's where he was sleeping at. So I walk in there, I'm like, hey, Daddy. And Daddy jumps and spins him, but he got his rifle in his hand. I'm like, whoa, Daddy, it's just me. He's like, son, I told you to stay in the house. I was like, well, Daddy, I thought I'd come out here and help you look. He was in this first stall, and I opened it up, and there's nobody there. And I was like, I wonder where he went. His horse is there, but there's no sign of any man ever been in this barn. I can look where his horse is tied up. There's nothing. Like the guy just vanished. And I looked at Daddy and I said, Daddy, I know he's out here. I walk out back, we got the lantern. I said, we were shooting them pistols right back here. We walk out there and there's not even any busted glass on the ground. And I was like, Daddy, that's strange. Because we busted them bottles. There was a bunch of them out here. And now there's nothing. There's no brass on the ground. There's no nothing out here. No sign that anybody's ever even been out here. Daddy looks at me and he is like, son, he's like, this is odd. And we kind of stand there for a second, just kind of look around. It's dark, but we're just looking through the glow of the lantern. We go, well, we'll go back to bed and we'll look again in the morning when it's daylight. Well, when we get back, we're walking back to the house and the rocking chair's moving. I can just hear it, that squeaking of it. I'm like, Daddy, somebody's on the porch. Daddy's like, no, that's just that little bit of breeze moving my rocking chair. I'm like, I don't know, Daddy. He said, it sounds different when somebody's sitting in it. So we get closer and Daddy shines that lantern up and sure enough, there's a man sitting on the porch. And we walk up on there and I see it's Billy. I'm like, Billy, I thought you was in the barn. And Billy, he ignores me and he looks at Dad. He's like, sir? He's like Jimmy, sir, I just want to thank you. You could have turned me in. Turn me in? Turn you in? What do you mean turn you in? Are you that bank robber? And they don't say anything. He's like, I just want to tell you, thank you for not turning me in. And all I'm thinking is, how'd this guy clean all this stuff up like there's no sign? That's all I'm wondering. And Dad looks at it and says, well, I look at it this way. You hadn't done me no harm, and you've been nothing but nice to my family, so whatever you've done in the past, well, that's between you and Neil. And we sit there and talk a little bit, and I was like, Billy, where'd all that stuff go, all that glass? We shot them bottles, and he looks at me and he says, Jimmy, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, I never shot this pistol. He's like, but you got, yeah, we did. We sat back there and you showed me how to do it. He looked at me and said, no, I've never shot this pistol before. I'm like, "Yep, you've got a pearl handled pistol." He's like, no, I don't have a pearl handled pistol. He goes, yeah, you do. It's on their hip. And he reaches down and he pulls it up, and that pistol he's got just regular old brown handle on it. I'm like, you must have hit it. He's like, no, I don't have a pearl handled pistol. I them are for rich people. I can't afford those. And I sat down like, man, maybe I was dreaming all this. You know, so I'm thinking to myself, and that guy, him and Daddy, they talk a little bit longer, and I'm still just puzzled. I'm like, I know I shot a pearl handled pistol. And I looked at him and I said, Billy, I was like, I know you got that pistol because you're the one that taught me how to just aim down my arm and shoot. And Billy, he just kind of looked at me. I can see it in that lantern. He goes, aim down your arm. He goes, you know, son, he goes, that's a good idea. I don't know where you got that information from, but that's a good idea, he says with a smirk on his face. And I'm thinking, I'm like, aha, you're messing with us now. And Daddy looked at him and said, well, you're more than welcome to go back to the barn, and we're going to go back to bed, and breakfast will be ready by sunup if you're still here. And Billy looks at us and said, no, I think I'll be on my way. They're like, well, good luck to you. And Billy gets on his horse, and he tips his hat, and we can see him, you know, bright moon and the lantern. We can see him sitting there on his horse, and Daddy says, they went east, and turned around and walks in the house. And I'm like, all right, Billy, well, see you later, I guess. And I turn and I hear, hey, kid. And I turn around, and he rides his horse up to the porch and reaches down in his saddlebag, and he pulls this pistol out. He throws it to me, and I catch it. And I'm like, I'm looking at this pistol, but it's dark, but I can see it's kind of shiny. And he turns and rides off. Well, then what happened, Grandpa? David asked. He goes, well, hold on. Grandpa gets up. I got to refill my coffee. He goes in there, and I hear him piddling around, and you know, I hear the coffee pot clinking, and I hear him pouring that cup, and I hear him, he walks off. I said, he must be going to the bathroom. I hear the toilet flush, you know, I can hear that through the house. Just how it is in them old houses. A little bit later, he walks out with his coffee cup, he sits down, he goes, where was I? He goes, he threw you something shiny. He goes, oh yeah. Grandpa reaches in his pocket, down in his coveralls, reaches down in his coveralls, pulls it out, and sets a pearl-handled pistol on the table. He says, that's what he tossed me, son. And I was like, wow, Grandpa. So you really met Billy the Kid. He says, yep. That's the pistol he robbed that bank with and killed that man. And I've had it since I was 13 years old. The end.
Sounds good to me.
Not bad, huh? That's part one.
Part one.
Yep.
So who's the old man?
The old man? What old man? Jimmy, the grandpa. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Who is he?
Who is he? Just Jimmy?
Yeah, just Jimmy. I met Billy the Kid.
I thought maybe he, after he got the gun, part two could be, you know, he became
No.
somebody.
Part two, he meets Jesse James.
Oh, so he's just met all these old outlaws,
Yeah.
but never became one himself.
Yeah.
Just old pickle farmer.
Yeah,
Just Jimmy.
just the adventures. I think I'm gonna call it outlaw history or something like that.
Well, then you'd have to have it right. You couldn't make it up.
I don't know.
Where the hell are all these fish at?
I don't know. But I've been wanting to write something like that. Around that, kind of like that. For a while. Something different.
Yeah.
But I was going to have him like